Your machine's already broken. Give me my money back. Shouting at me is David, the division manager. I, Joseph Wilson, the president of Wilson Precision Machinery, step forward. He says the $100,000 machine we delivered a week ago is already broken. Don't just stand there greeting me. We're suffering losses here. David rants at me in his fury. But I knew the hidden agenda behind his words. Really, let me check. Could you wait a moment, please? I headed to Miller Corporation, where David works. I inspect the machine we delivered recently. Moreover, I walk around the factory to verify the information I heard beforehand. It seems David, as an employee of the parts manufacturing company, is plotting something unacceptable. To get to the bottom of the true intentions behind his complaint, I started questioning him. I am Joseph Wilson, 43 years old. I run Wilson Precision Machinery, a company that manufactures machine tools. Originally founded by my father, the company has been in business for 20 years. Our office is in a building downtown, with the sales and general affairs departments working there. The manufacturing department, however, is based in a factory in the suburbs where they make machine tools. After graduating from college, I joined my father's company as a new graduate. I rotated through the manufacturing, sales, and development departments, gaining experience in each. After serving as executive director for 3 years, my father passed the company on to me. I became president at 40. Initially, there were many challenges as a manager, but after working for 3 years, I got the hang of it. Having worked in various departments for nearly 20 years, I communicated well with the employees. With their support, I managed to grow as a president. Now, I continue to run the company to support my wife and 2 children. One day, a report reached me. Reading through it, I placed my hand on my forehead, thinking about what to do. Not again. I was looking at a complaint report. We frequently receive complaints from Miller Corporation, a parts processing company. Handling complaints isn't pleasant, but it's an important job. Some people just make baseless accusations. On the other hand, sometimes there are actually significant defects in the delivered goods. Therefore, even if I feel indignant at the client's attitude, it's essential to investigate the cause objectively without dismissing it outright. I tell my employees to respond sincerely, without getting emotional, no matter what the client says. At the same time, I advise them to talk to their supervisor or me if they feel overwhelmed. The employee who handed me the report is nervously waiting for my response. This is the 4th time. What should we do? The employee looks exhausted. They were probably yelled at harshly over the phone. Is it David again? Yes. This guy, David, is the sales division manager at Miller Corporation. For the past 6 months, we've received many complaints, and most of them are from him. The 4 complaints from him were all about the machine tools we delivered or repaired breaking down quickly, demanding us to fix them. Of course, we repaired and thoroughly investigated the issues David mentioned. However, we never found any defects as he claimed. Moreover, similar defects haven't occurred with deliveries to other companies. For now, we respond to each complaint by apologizing and repairing the broken parts for free. It's obviously their misuse that's causing the problems. I understand why you think that. The employees are tired of constantly apologizing. It's exhausting to keep apologizing to baseless complaints. For your information, the representative dealing with Miller Corporation has already been replaced once. The reason is obvious. They got fed up with David. We're handling the situation with him. Can you hang in there a bit longer? Understood. With a glimmer of hope that the situation is being addressed, the employee nodded and left. I'm not okay with continuously apologizing to David forever. I wanted to reassure him by sharing the actual situation, but there are still many uncertainties about the ongoing investigation. So, I can't talk about it lightly. Still, I'm pondering what to do. Receiving 4 complaints from the same company is unprecedented. I've consulted my father about this situation, but he's never experienced anything like it. That's because Wilson Precision Machinery, since my father's time, has focused on the quality and safety of the machines we manufacture. My father often told me when I became president, once a machine is encased, you can't see the intricate parts inside. So, it could be shoddily made. But we must not deceive with the interior. As long as we're involved in this work, we must manufacture machines correctly and guarantee their safety and quality to our clients. Any defect in the machine tools could lead to a significant incident. Therefore, we must build them meticulously to ensure there are no defects. To emphasize responsibility, Wilson Precision Machinery pays the manufacturing department employees higher wages than the market rate. Attracted by these wages, skilled craftsmen have gathered in our manufacturing department. However, our company is operated by human beings, as others are. No matter how careful we are, defects can occur. We must acknowledge this, and that's why we need to be careful in handling complaints. Still, I can't help but suspect there's something behind David's persistent complaints. His arrogant attitude continued. That day, we delivered a $100,000 machine tool. I accompanied the representative to assist and greet David, given our frequent dealings with him. David frowned at the machine tool installed in Miller Corporation's factory. This isn't defective too, is it? We've thoroughly inspected it. If any defects are found, please let us know. We'll immediately handle repairs or refunds. It's not just about handling it. Our work stops every time for repairs. Do you understand that? We apologize. We conducted a thorough inspection, and I believe there won't be any issues this time. Perhaps he was emboldened by our repeated apologies. David always maintained this attitude in front of us. I tried to keep a calm expression, but the employees next to me were awkwardly smiling. After completing the delivery, the employee and I left Miller Corporation's factory. I hope there won't be any issues this time. We conducted an even more thorough inspection this time. There shouldn't be any problems. It'll be fine. I was present during the operational check and confirmed it was working without any issues. If any problems arise, this will be the 5th complaint from him. Something definitely seems odd. The employee and I returned to the office, praying nothing would happen, and got back to other work. A week has passed since the delivery of the machine tool. I looked over the various gathered materials while talking to other companies. The contents of these industry-shared materials seem reliable. However, since there is no concrete evidence yet, we need to proceed cautiously. At least, it wasn't something to be made public yet. While I was staring at the documents in my office, an employee knocked and rushed in. He looked pale. What's wrong? We've got another call from David. What did he say? The machine we delivered last week has already stopped working. Not again. I placed my hand on my forehead. We thoroughly checked the operation, and I was present during the delivery. At that point, there were no apparent defects on our part. Something definitely seems fishy, I thought while glancing at the documents. He insists on speaking with the president. I offered to handle it, but I understand. Put him through. I'm sorry. Though handling complaints is unpleasant, the employee was clearly hesitant to put the president on the spot. After putting the call on hold, the employee transferred it to me. I picked up the phone to speak directly with David. Your machine's broken again. Give me my money back. Thank you for your call, David. Don't just calmly greet me. We're incurring losses here. He shouted so loudly it felt like my eardrum might burst. As I had heard, he was extremely angry. However, we followed all the proper procedures to avoid such troubles at the time of delivery. If it's truly broken, I'm prepared to take responsibility, so I responded confidently. Really? Let me check. Could you wait a moment, please? Don't say such leisurely things, I said. We're incurring losses. I'm sorry, but if we confirm any defects, will immediately handle repairs or returns. I said, "Give me my money back." I tried to listen to his words carefully, but my ears were hurting from all the shouting. I realized why the employees felt so discouraged. Of course, if there are any defects, we'll handle it with a refund, so please allow us to confirm. Then come right now. It's your fault, so you can at least do that, right? Understood. We'll head over immediately. Please wait about an hour. I ended the call with David. Even though it wasn't on speaker, his loud voice was still heard. The employees looked at me with concern. "Are you okay, boss?" "Yes, I'm fine." "If it's broken, will we have to refund it?" Machine tools are expensive, and refunding or remaking them would be a significant blow. However, I wasn't that worried. Honestly, I already have an idea why the delivered machine is broken. Really? I showed the documents I was looking at earlier to the employees. There's no time to explain everything, but all of David's misdeeds are detailed here. If he's calling me directly, it's even more convenient. Expect good news. I knew the truth hidden behind his yelling. When I return to the office, I'll have some good news. Then, as David demanded, I headed to Miller Corporation. I've been waiting ages. I'm sorry, I came as quickly as I could. By the way, only 50 minutes had passed since the call. I believed I had come quickly enough and had no reason to be criticized. However, this wasn't the main issue, so I didn't plan to argue deeply. Damn it, why do I have to waste my time on your lousy machine? Well, because of this, our production is delayed. If any problems arise, I'll make sure to claim damages from you. I understand. If our machine truly caused the delay, we should compensate for those damages. Causing trouble for Miller Corporation's clients is a serious responsibility. I headed to the factory adjacent to Miller Corporation's office. Machines in other areas seemed to be working fine, with dull sounds echoing around. Employees were operating the machines, processing parts one after another. Eventually, we arrived at the machine we delivered a week ago. Try it. All right. I checked the machine's condition. After graduating from college, I handled every job from manufacturing to sales until I became president. So, of course, I'm familiar with manufacturing, and I can quickly spot any defects. I checked the state of the machine by examining the tools attached and turning on the power. It is indeed broken. Yeah, and it hasn't even been a week since the delivery. David raised his eyebrows in anger. What kind of defective product did you give us? I'm returning it. If you want to continue doing business, bring us a better machine next time. Ignoring his words, I continued to carefully check the machine's condition. Then I asked David, "May I check the situation a bit more?" "Humph, no matter how many times you look, the fact that it's broken won't change. Look all you want." I observed the machine a bit more. In the process, I casually glanced around the factory. In a corner, I saw several machines that seemed to be broken. It appears the information shared within the industry is indeed true. After confirming this, I returned to David and said, "I sincerely apologize. It seems our machine caused you inconvenience." "Exactly. You should have admitted it sooner. Just refund it and take it back." "Of course, before that, for the future improvement of our product's quality, may I ask a few questions?" "What is it?" David asked me irritably. "Do you know what kind of tasks you were performing when the machine broke?" "What's there? It just stopped working on its own." When I asked, he became noticeably evasive. "If it stopped on its own, it must have broken during some operation, right? Where and what kind of work were you doing?" David answered with an annoyed tone. "We were machining parts for a machine here." "May I ask what kind of machine parts you were machining?" "Hey, what's with all the questions? Are you doubting something?" Perhaps it was a subject he didn't want to touch upon. I could see that David was getting flustered by my questions. "Not at all. But if we don't understand why it broke, we can't improve our quality. This way, we might cause your company more trouble. I truly want to maintain a long-term relationship with Miller Corporation, so I'd appreciate your guidance." My polite response left David unable to find a hole, and he averted his gaze. Then he said, "Wait here," and left. Soon, David returned with a part. "We were making this part. Got a problem with that." He brought a shaft, which seemed to have been made with this machine. Indeed, this machine is for making shafts, and there's nothing suspicious about it. However, if it was made through the usual process, the machine shouldn't have broken. I thoroughly checked the operation during the delivery to ensure this. David is hiding something. By the way, I noticed some broken machines in the corner of the factory. What were they originally used for? That's none of your business. What's with all the questions? Hearing my question, David clearly started to panic. I probably hit the mark with my observation. Actually, thanks to prior investigation, I already knew what David was hiding. Walking around the factory confirmed that I was right. The charade ends here. I got to the point. Isn't it time to stop hiding the truth? You used our machine for an unintended purpose, didn't you? What are you talking about? David turned pale. His reaction clearly showed his guilt. As I suspected, while he was yelling about our machine being defective, he was hiding his own mistakes. Here's what you were thinking, David. Instead of fixing the broken machine, you'd use another machine. That way, you wouldn't need to buy a new one. Plus, since this machine is brand new, if it breaks, you can claim it's defective and demand a replacement or refund immediately. What the? He didn't expect to be found out. I pressed further as he looked around nervously. It's only natural for a machine to break when used for purposes it wasn't designed for. While our machines are built to be durable for long-term use, we don't account for misuse. Our contract clearly states that if our machines are used improperly, we won't provide free repairs. What the hell? Acting all high and mighty. Where's your proof that we used it for another purpose? I was likely right on target. But since I'm pointing out his wrongdoing, it's only natural for him to ask for proof. I do have proof. Earlier, I took a brief look around the factory. Some of the machines you were using for production are still there. They haven't been discarded, which means they broke recently, correct? That is. Judging by the shape of the machines, they resembled parts of our machines. You must have forced the work, using parts that could be substituted, which we strongly urge you not to do so. Of course, our machines aren't designed for such substitutions. So, it makes sense that the machine we thoroughly checked broke within a week. That's just an accusation. Just because the machine broke doesn't mean we used yours as a substitute. If you deny this, I have more evidence. This is the main point. What? I told David, who was clearly flustered. You've been using machines for unintended purposes to manufacture substandard parts and persistently filing complaints to your clients. I've received reports about your wrongdoings from someone who prefers to remain anonymous. What? When a machine breaks, you forcefully process parts with another machine. And when that machine breaks from improper use, you claim it's defective and demand free repairs or refunds. That was the wrongdoing David had been committing at this company. David, as the sales manager, was responsible for purchasing machine tools used for parts sales and manufacturing. However, he ignored the voices from the factory and hesitated to buy new machines even when they broke. Instead, he made unreasonable demands to make do with the existing machines. The manufacturing department manager had also requested new machines, but David stubbornly refused. With the president frequently working outside, no one could stop David. Since David wouldn't budge, the employees had no choice but to use the existing machines to meet deadlines. They had to start machining parts with machines intended for different purposes. But such malicious manufacturing couldn't continue for the clients or the employees. Some employees fled the manufacturing department and resigned. Those who moved to other companies reported the situation, and warnings reached me. Of course, there was no proof that the employee reports were true, so I couldn't take significant action. But fortunately, I was allowed to enter Miller Corporation's factory legitimately. Seeing this factory confirmed the employee reports were true. Bringing me here was a mistake. If you hadn't persistently filed complaints, your misdeeds might never have come to light. Damn it, who was it? They forgot the favor I did by guiding them. Judging by David's attitude toward us, his treatment of subordinates was likely terrible. Calling it guidance is just a convenient cover-up for his arrogance. Out of fear of your tyranny, they might have pretended to comply. But in reality, everyone was fed up with your misdeeds. That's why you've been reported. When I pointed this out, David snapped back. So what? We can't afford to buy machines costing hundreds of thousands of dollars every time. If the employees break them, they should bear the penalty. That way, they'll take better care of the machines, which will save costs and benefit the company. Indeed, machines should be used carefully. When used correctly and maintained regularly, they bring corresponding benefits. But don't you realize you're doing the exact opposite of what you're preaching? What? His statements were incredibly selfish. I pointed out his hypocrisy. Using another machine just because one broke is outrageous. By using it for unintended purposes, you quickly broke our machine. No, that's not all. Didn't you consider that forcing parts with an inappropriate machine could cause issues in the final product's manufacturing and safety? David then said something outrageous. Who cares? As long as nobody notices the defects, it doesn't matter. Nobody looks inside the machines anyway, and they won't notice if a few parts are different. People like you. Sadly, only experts can determine if a machine is manufactured correctly. Unethical vendors seeking exorbitant profits can corrupt the process. That's why companies must approach manufacturing sincerely. As I pondered this, an employee rushed into the factory. David, it's terrible. We've received a complaint. The delivered parts don't match the specifications they ordered. What? David was shocked by the report. It seems their improper part manufacturing had started to have an effect. David's lackadaisical attitude has led to this flaw. I anticipated this moment would come soon, and it appears that moment is now. It seems the issue became apparent because the machine with our parts isn't working properly. How should we respond? That's. David had no response. Even minor differences in part specifications can cause a machine to malfunction. That's why he thought it was okay to cut costs on machine tools. This clearly flawed thinking led to this situation. He forced employees to use different machines, even if he yelled at them. Now, he can't back down or blame the employees. Just tell them we'll replace the parts for now. Understood. This desperate response won't solve anything. This is just the beginning, and complaints about mismatched parts will start pouring in from other companies too. Hey, do something. Why should I have to fix this? David was desperate, but this was clearly his fault. Using machines for unintended purposes will naturally result in parts not meeting specifications. You can't manufacture parts properly with such reckless methods. Don't act like you know everything. Well, anyone in the manufacturing department should know this. Damn it, nobody told me that. Useless bunch. Probably no one dared to tell David out of fear. Using machines for unintended purposes to process parts is totally unacceptable to the manufacturing department. Even a slight misalignment can cause issues with contacts, prevent the motor from engaging, or stop the machine from functioning due to lack of current. Employees, with their craftsmanship, ensure that machine parts are made without any deviation. Just fix this machine, I'll pay. It's convenient how the person who was just yelling at me and the employees, blaming us for the machine's failure due to his own mistakes, is now making demands. Of course, I had no intention of listening to him. Weren't you going to return it? The situation has changed. You can see that, right? But a machine from our company that breaks down in just 1 week doesn't seem necessary for you. Just fix it. How much will it cost? He must have realized that he can't manage without our machine. Soon, Miller Corporation will receive numerous requests for parts returns and exchanges. To handle this, our machine is indispensable. So, despite breaking it himself, he's now demanding that I fix the machine. I told him, $200,000. What? I said, the repair cost is $200,000. David became furious. That's ridiculous. It's cheaper to buy a new one. Yes, that's true. Then lower it to a reasonable price. Charging $200,000 for a repair is outrageous. Indeed, it is an exorbitant amount for a repair. However, I had no intention of lowering the price. If our company were at fault, the repair would be free. If David had been respectful and honest about his mistakes when requesting repairs, I wouldn't have raised the price this high. But David's misconduct was too severe. You've made baseless complaints against our company, exhausting our employees. Do you realize how much wrongdoing you've done? With the trust you've lost, there's no way we can continue business at the same prices as before. Damn it, don't take advantage of me. Don't you understand this is your own fault? Unable to accept my words, David ground his teeth. If you can't pay, our business with your company ends here. We have other clients, so we'll be cutting ties with you. What? In that case, you'll need to purchase new machines to manufacture parts, which will delay your operations by at least a month. This will likely lead to significant compensation claims from your clients. The costs will exceed $200,000. David was speechless. Watching him, I continued. So, will you pay $200,000 to repair the machine now? Or will you further damage your company's already tarnished reputation while looking for another machine supplier? Considering your misconduct is already known, I doubt any company will want to do business with you. I stared at him, demanding an answer. What would you do, sir? Damn it! David collapsed, punching the floor. He couldn't report to the president that his own malicious directives had cost the company at least $200,000. But he had no choice but to accept it. Despite his position as a manager, he refused to listen to the voices of the employees on site. Instead of purchasing necessary equipment, he tried to cut costs through unacceptable methods. It's not enough for the machines to just work, or for their exteriors to look good. Being involved in machine manufacturing means understanding that people will use these machines and that safety is a concern. He underestimated this process for the sake of the company's profit. Now, he will pay for his accumulated wrongdoings. I hope this would bring some relief to our employees who were fed up with his complaints. After that, I explained to President Miller of the corporation what had been happening in the manufacturing department. Because he spent a lot of time working outside, he was unaware of the malicious manufacturing practices, and he apologized profusely. He promised to review the manufacturing system and ensure this wouldn't happen again. It seems David was the only one committing these misdeeds. As long as he is no longer involved, the company should be able to conduct business honestly from now on. Although we repaired the machine, I received $50,000 for the repair. This amount is still higher than the market rate, but includes compensation for the trouble caused. Thanks to the prompt repair, it seems they were able to remake the parts requested for exchange. Even so, it seems there were some delays in manufacturing, and they had to pay about $100,000 in total compensation. Other parts that David ordered to be poorly manufactured were recalled voluntarily, even without complaints from clients. Miller Corporation suffered significant losses from remaking and replacing these parts. They also underwent a thorough audit by an external agency and received a corrective recommendation from the Federal Economics Bureau. For a while, Miller Corporation will need to reform its manufacturing system under government guidance. David was, of course, dismissed. He had a wife and 2 children, but apparently his wife sensed something was wrong and divorced him years ago. Both children became independent long ago. David was sued by Miller Corporation for $300,000 in damages for enforcing an unreasonable manufacturing system and directing poor manufacturing practices. He used up his savings to pay the damages and struggled to find a new job. However, news of his poor manufacturing practices spread, causing him to fail at the document screening stage of job applications. Desperate for living expenses, he turned to loans, but with no job prospects, his debt only grew. Now he somehow manages, but he faces a grim future with mounting debt. As for me, I continued working as the president of Wilson Precision Machinery. With David's dismissal, there was no need to stay in contact with him, and my employees were relieved. Handling complaints is necessary, but no one willingly does it. I also told my father, the former president, about the outcome of this situation. It seems like a lot happened. Yeah, but thanks to everything you taught me, I managed to handle it. I'm still young as a president, so I often seek my father's advice on management. Anyone can get defensive when receiving a complaint, believing they're not at fault. I owe myself being able to calmly handle David's complaints to my father. And because of his advice, I was able to firmly counter David's outrageous demands. We must manufacture our machines correctly and guarantee their safety and quality. That's right. It's easy to deceive with appearances, but we are trusted by our clients. That's why we must meet that trust with both safety and quality. That's what makes a good company. David prioritized the company's profit and reducing his workload, thinking that minor defects in the parts wouldn't be noticed. However, as long as we hold on to this belief, we won't go wrong as managers. I've only been president for a few years and still have much to learn. But that's why it's crucial to maintain an honest approach. While supporting my family, I aim to become a great president like my father and manage this company with integrity.